Hello everyone, and good morning, afternoon, or evening. Today we'll be on the Am I the A-Hole subreddit, reading a couple stories that I've gathered for you guys. Without further ado, let's get into the first story. Would I be the a-hole if I dropped out as a bridesmaid a week before the wedding because of what happened at the bachelorette? So I am a bridesmaid at my friend's wedding. She had just had a bachelorette party at the groom's family's cabin for 2 nights. It started off okay, but as the attendants got more and more drunk, the racism and anti-Semitism started to come out. For context, everyone else in the wedding party is white. I am mixed Jewish and Asian, and Irish when not relevant to this post. My part of the party was to put on a tea party in the afternoon. I spent weeks hand decorating a tea set as a wedding present. Weddings are huge in my culture and I wanted to share that joy. I bought and cooked a bunch of my cultural food, but the basic stuff even Western people like lumpia, baked desserts, and skyflakes with cheese and meat. I of course checked with the bride and MOH beforehand and both said that it would be okay, with the bride saying she loved lumpia. I was so proud of it and it looked beautiful all set up. But immediately, some of the bridal parties started making the ew ethnic food faces. One of them chased another around with a sweet bun, laughing about how weird and scary it was. It was literally bread and cream. I sent pictures of my setup to other friends to see if I did something wrong, and everyone said it looked amazing. Edit, because I need to be precise. People did say thank you, including the bride. They said the setup was very pretty. It was a reaction to the food by some of them that I was describing. That being said, almost nobody spoke during the tea party portion, and blamed it on being tired. The bride and friends did not say anything about the reactions of the other girls. The main feedback I got is that I was clearly a witch because my tea put everyone to sleep. It was a hibiscus rose mint and calamansi mix. But oh well, maybe that food isn't for them. I moved on. But then the racist jokes started. The party started Juneteenth. You can imagine the jokes that came out of that. Then anti-Semitic jokes about Holocaust camps and more. This is direct quote. I say a lot of Nazi and Holocaust jokes for someone who isn't racist. I was trapped on a boat with them when this started happening. Later that night, as I was grabbing something from a room to then leave, the main perpetrator said to someone I considered a close friend, "I was worried you'd be offended by the Auschwitz jokes because you're German." That friend replied she wasn't offended. I spoke up, "Well, I might be offended because I'm Jewish." I got up to leave with my stuff, and the girl said, "She's going back to Auschwitz." My friend, the bride, everyone laughed. I went outside and cried. They saw me from the window and they all came out to eat food. Not a single one of my friends came to check up on me. The vibes continued along that line, and I felt like I was a Jewish Asian version of Get Out, stuck in a giant home with a bunch of racist white people. But honestly, the fear from it wasn't the worst part. It was that not having a single one of my friends say anything. I then was in a 4-hour car ride with one of the friends us bridesmaids on the way home. She spent the last hour of it lecturing me about how she's, quote, someone who can be cordial around people she doesn't agree with, but not everyone has a skill, especially when it's personal, and that, quote, I need to put myself in other people's shoes and see that they have positive intentions, and more. For context, this cabin was 4 hours away, and I have a pretty moderate disability. I was using 110% of my energy for this, and had no energy left by the end of it. I pushed myself to extremes for these friends and the bride, and it was reciprocated with laughing at anti-Semitic jokes at my expense. The wedding is next weekend. I can barely see from the migraine I have, and my legs are struggling walking. I don't feel like it's worth to hurt myself or someone who couldn't bother to stand up for me, or even check on me after. All my friends of color agree with me, but this was my high school friend group. I grew up in a very white town. And I also feel guilty like I'm letting them down. But I'm not quite sure what to do. So, Reddit, please help me out. Edit, I was a history major, which makes this whole thing even worse. So I have to add context that I realized I didn't miss in the comments. The friend in the car is the friend who said she wasn't offended by the Holocaust jokes to the person. She was asked by the jokester because she's German and lives in Germany. In the car, she did say that she was absolutely against the concentration camp joke, and that she feels guilty and she didn't say anything. The words "I'm sorry" never came out of her mouth though. But then, I brought up some other stuff with the food and racist comments, and that's why she went on the tangent. She also said she saw the racism, but told me in those situations you just have to ignore it and choose not to be around those people again. As she knew there were racism happening, including towards me, and didn't say anything or check in on me, I will be choosing not to be around her again. I also told her repeatedly that I didn't want to talk about this now because I was so physically done, and she said, "This is my car and I'm driving. I don't want to be uncomfortable and have tension here. We are talking." I have a vocal cord disorder and my speaking is limited, so I didn't say much. And I didn't want to get dropped off on the side of the road in the middle of nowhere. I told her she crossed a boundary she can't come back from, though. The people making racist jokes were the siblings/cousins of the groom. My friends were the close ones laughing along and not saying anything. I have been long distance with these friends since high school. The friend in the car with me was a social justice club with me in high school. There was not a lot of signs of this behavior before from either friend or the bride. In fact, the bride went with me to an anti-ICE fundraiser party earlier this year, and we had a lot of fun. I have never been shy with my opinions, especially as someone who studied history. This was the first time I was hanging with them around a bunch of other people. In reviewing the comments, I realized that they may not have been racist with me before, but didn't stop or say anything about racism when it happened, which is in fact racism. That is a key difference. I am also more white than not. I am ethnically Jewish, but not religious. I often don't feel like I have the right to be upset about these things because other family have gone through worse. That's something I'm working to unlearn, and this was definitely some exposure therapy to that. Why didn't I say anything at the party? Because I'm in the middle of nowhere surrounded by drunk people making racist comments at me. I've survived violence before, and I know sometimes keeping your mouth shut is what needs to happen until you're in a safe space. Lastly, I will not be going to the wedding. I need to get off screens because my head is killing me, but your comments support helped me settle this emotionally. I will decide tomorrow how I will inform the bride. OP here definitely made the right call. No matter how good friends you are with a person, if they are disrespecting you, they are not your friend. Not going to the wedding is definitely the best choice here, even if the bride is upset. I'm glad OP is taking care of herself and choosing her over her friend. Now, onto story number 2. Am I the a-hole for asking my boyfriend for my deposit back? Me, 36F, and my boyfriend, 39M, have been dating for a full year and have finally decided to move in together, and we're super excited. Last week, Saturday, was our moving day. I'm moving in with him, and we needed a moving van which he was driving but I was paying for. It was going to cost 250 euros for the day, but he had to book it due to insurance and etc. So I sent him over the money and he went to pick up the van. And they said they need an extra 100 euro insurance money that we would get back after the van is paid off and there's no damages. I said fine and sent over the extra money. The move went fine and we're really happy and excited. When he dropped off the van, I asked about the 100 euro, and he said they would send it back in a few days. I said fine, didn't think any more of it. We spent the next few days unpacking, etc., and just enjoying Color's company and the whole experience. Thursday night, as we were going to bed, I said, "Oh, they still haven't given us back that deposit money? We'll have to call them in the morning. See what happened." He froze. "Oh, they put the money in my bank on Monday." I looked at him and said, "Why didn't you put it in my bank?" He got really upset with me and started saying it would only go to shopping anyway, and why does it matter whose bank it goes in? I was really confused and upset. I said, "But you didn't even tell me they'd give you the money back." Or said, "Let's just keep it for shopping," but you just kept it? He then got really angry and shouted, "Fine, I'll put it in your bank." And he grabbed his phone and transferred the money. I'm left shocked and confused. Was I wrong to ask for the money back? Am I the a-hole? Update. Thank you all for commenting. Your comments have been really helpful. At least I know I'm not overreacting or going crazy. I'm going to keep an eye on things and see how it goes. As I said in one of my comments, he's never shouted at me before. Maybe this is just a strange one-off, but I will be having a conversation with him about finances. Also, one good thing that did come up a lot in the comments, everything is in his name. The tenancy, the bills, everything. So if this is a case of mass slipping, I can just walk away, and I will. Thanks again. OP is definitely not in the wrong here for asking for her money back. No matter how little or how big the money is, it is your money still. Even if it will go to shopping or bills, that is still your money. Where it goes is your choice and not his. And it is very unthoughtful and disrespectful to keep somebody else's money, especially without paying them back. I have a small doubt that the 100 euros wasn't actually another deposit, but rather something he could use for emergencies. And even if that was that, he could have just said it. The lack of communication on his end is really disturbing. Now, onto the third story. Am I the a-hole for letting not my daughter celebrate Father's Day with me? I, 44M, have known Morgan, 19F, since she was a baby. Her mother, 43F, and I were friends since high school. Her dad took off back in Mexico after she was conceived and hasn't heard from her since. Her mother and I hung out occasionally until about 5 years ago when she got with a guy who she quickly married and is heavy into drugs. Morgan was sent off to live with her grandmother, and she rarely sees her mother and stepfather. Morgan and I reconnected when she invited me to her graduation party. Since then, I've helped her with figuring out her finances, getting a car, apartment, and registered for college classes. We don't see each other often, but she knows I'm always just a phone call away. I ran into her yesterday at the grocery store and just making small talk, accidentally asked if she had any big plans for Father's Day. feeling stupid right after saying it, knowing her situation. She laughed and said I was the only thing that resembled a father in her life. So I thought, why not invite her out with my wife and 2 teenage kids for our traditional Father's Day dinner at a nice restaurant? And she quickly accepted the invite. This evening, we had a great dinner, had some laughs, and treated her like she was one of the family. She even made me a almost Father's Day card. Everything seems to go great. Later tonight, her mother starts blowing up my phone, telling me what a terrible person I am in much harsher words, and pretty much every name in the book, saying what a sick person I am for pretending and messing with her daughter's emotions, and she has a real father and stepfather, and I'm neither of those. So, am I the a-hole? OP is definitely not the a-hole here. In fact, the opposite. Inviting somebody who isn't your daughter and does not have father figures is an extremely kind gesture. She happily accepted, meaning she was really grateful for it. OP is such a saint here and actually the sweetest person. There is no way in this situation could he be the a-hole. I'm really glad he did what he did, and I'm sure Morgan is really appreciative too. Now, onto the fourth story. Am I the a-hole for telling my guests it's better they don't come to the wedding after they complained about our wedding too much? We are getting married in less than 2 months. Our RSVP deadline was a month ago, and everyone responded our RSVP but one couple. We really had to hound them to get any kind of answer from them. Yesterday, they sent us a message telling us they're free to come, but alongside the reply, they sent us a long message about how cumbersome and expensive it is to attend our wedding and how tiring the weekend for them will be, and how they probably need to retreat for the hotel room most of the day and stay for the ceremony and part at dinner, but retreat to the room for the rest of the festivities. We were taken aback because we were paying for everything. Food, drinks, parking, and we were also paying everyone's accommodation, a very nice lakeside hotel. Their biggest expense would be to pay the gas for the 4-hour drive to the wedding and back. They have a car. They also complained about the dress code. We have black tie, but they both own clothes that would fit the dress code, so they wouldn't have to buy new clothes anyway. But they complained about that too. We read the message and basically told them that if coming would be so tiresome for them, it is better not to come. We said that we're not mad at all if someone can't make it or doesn't feel up to it, and there's no hard feelings, but basically uninvited them. I know it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things budget-wise, but each guest cost us around $600, and I didn't feel like spending $1,200 on people that didn't even want to be there. They're not angry at us and refuse to speak to us. We were thinking that we were a bit harsh. Were we the a-holes? In this situation, OP is definitely not the a-hole. Despite the fact that it is your wedding and you can uninvite and invite whoever you want, they were complaining from start to finish in their message. It's definitely not unreasonable for OP to uninvite these guys, especially when they wouldn't enjoy it. That comes to the conclusion of today's stories. Remember, if you enjoyed these stories, please like and subscribe. It all really helps a lot. Thank you so much for watching. I hope everybody has an amazing day or night. Bye bye!